All right, thank you. Welcome to the Cresswell City Council meeting for June 14th, 2021. First on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance, which we will be doing virtually, and I believe Maddie Phillips has that for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good, thank you so much. Next up is roll call. Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark is present.
Councillor Castilla.
Councillor Castilla, present.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Councillor Hutchinson, present.
Councillor Inman.
Councillor Inman is present.
Councillor Medina.
Councillor Medina, present.
Councillor Pachu.
Councillor Prachu is present.
And Mayor Knutson's present. Gang's all here. All right, next up is the public forum. Is there anybody wishing to speak, or do we have any written testimony from anybody?
I have no written testimony and no one's here.
Okay, next up is the mayor's report. I have nothing to report, so we'll move on to correspondence, and that is Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mayor. You have a list of the correspondence we received since the last City Council meeting for you to review.
All right. Are there any questions or comments regarding correspondence? Councillor Castilla.
Just one to Michelle. Is the anonymous correspondence for the Cobalt rental, was that the one letter that was missing from the previous packet?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a comment about, we received something from Brandy Curtis regarding inappropriate comments on social media by a counselor. I don't know who that's in reference to because she doesn't say, but I just want to reference our city council rules. This is something we've all gone over, we've adopted previously about counselors' code of ethics, which is Section 8. Counselors are encouraged to conduct themselves so as to bring credit upon the city as a whole and to set an example of good ethical conduct for all citizens of the community. Later in Section 8, it talks about social media. If the mayor or councilor wishes to use social media to present information that is representative of the city, they must always present the majority position of the council. If the mayor or councilor wishes to use social media as a communication tool for their personal opinions and comments, they must include clarification that the statements do not represent the position of the city council. This isn't to discourage city councilors from using social media, but we just have to be clear about us as city councilors and us as citizens. Of course, you as a citizen are allowed to have any opinion you want, post it on social media, but if you're representing the city and representing yourself as a city councilor, you just need to make it known what position the hat you're wearing and what you're saying it as. So I just want to remind councilors of those rules that we had adopted. And that's all I have. Does anybody else have any questions or comments regarding any of the correspondence? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the administrative report, and that is Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. No, however, I think it's the consent calendar.
Sorry, it's the consent calendar. It is. Okay, I just thought that. All right, consent calendar. Does anybody want to pull anything, amend it, or have any discussion? If there is none, I'm entertaining a motion to approve the consent calendar. Councillor Pachu.
I'll make that motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second by Councillor Castilla. He just barely beat you. All right. Any other comments or discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark votes yes.
Councillor Castilla.
Councillor Castillo votes yes.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Councillor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councillor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Councillor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councillor Prachu.
Counselor Prachi votes yes.
And Mayor Knudsen votes yes. All right, now we can move on to the administrative report, which is Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on the report is the May bills. Are there any questions regarding the bills I might be able to answer for you at this time? Seeing none, the next item is the Lane County Sheriff's call for service reports. I don't see Sergeant Denham on this at this meeting, so oh, there he is. There he is. Now I see him. I was looking in the wrong spot. So Sergeant Denham is here and can answer any questions you have about that report.
All right. Do any councilors have any questions for our sergeant? Councillor Prachu.
It wouldn't be the same if I didn't have my traditional question. I was actually pleased to see that some of the numbers looked like they were a little heading downward or downtrend from where we had seen some of them. So that's cool. Also, no Measure 11, that's good. Any change in our transient or homeless population of notable interest?
Well, we had a guy that rolled into town and was sleeping on people's porches, and the old schoolhouse porch, and then the library, and then the middle school, and he got a ride to jail yesterday when we went to contact him behind the middle school, and he had a couple warrants and decided he was going to fight with Deputy Nixon and another deputy, and so they fought with him for about 5 minutes, and he got a ride to jail. And maybe he won't come back, and maybe he will. He's not one of our local regulars, so other than that, there's been no change.
Would there be any chance that that would be a mental health type of situation in that particular case, or?
It is. He's done time or done a stint at the state hospital for mental health issues, but okay. He reacts poorly.
Okay. Thank you, Sergeant.
All right. Do we have any other questions for our sergeant? Councillor Castilla.
Yes, Sergeant Denham, do you plan on sticking around till the end of this meeting?
Yep.
Okay, then my question can wait.
All right. Well, thank you for being here, and thanks for sticking around for our very, very long meeting to continue henceforth.
The liquor license at the end.
Yeah. All right, Manager Amberg.
The next report is the City Attorney's report, followed by the Code Enforcement report, if there's any questions about that one. One of the things he's our Code Enforcement Officer, Jerry, is particularly proud of is getting the graffiti cleaned off of those boxes. As you can see, they look nice and professional now. And those were, he worked with CenturyLink. Those are CenturyLink pedestals that had quite a bit of graffiti on them, and he was able to find the right people and get that addressed. The next report is the building permit report, and that concludes the reports.
All right, very good. Seeing no questions, we can move on to our council action items. So first up, we have budget approval for fiscal year 2021-2022. We're going to hold a series of 4 public hearings. The first one being public hearing on resolution 2021-03, a resolution adopting budget, making appropriations, and categorizing and levying ad valorem taxes. And I will open that public hearing now. The council wishes to hear from everyone who is interested in commenting on the resolution. Has there been any written testimony received, or is there anybody in attendance that wishes to speak?
I don't have any written comments or testimony, and no one's in attendance.
All right. As per usual, we will keep the meeting open for at least 1 minute. All right, the public hearing is now closed. We will move on to public hearing on resolution 2021-04A, a resolution establishing water service fees, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues. The Budget Committee has recommended using the state revenue sharing funds to be used for work on the comprehensive plan, update, and community contributions for nonprofit emergency needs, both appropriated in the general fund. The hearing is now open. The council wishes to hear from everyone who's interested in commenting. Are there any written testimony or anyone that wishes to speak?
I have not received any written comments or testimony, and no one's in attendance.
All right. We will keep the meeting or the public hearing open for at least 1 minute. All right. It's been open 1 minute, and now I will close the public hearing. Next up, we have a public hearing on the resolution 2021-09, a resolution establishing water service fees and water rates for users of the Cresswall municipal water system, and rescinding resolution 2020-17 and resolution 2021-09, a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and charges for users of the Cresswall municipal sewer works facilities, and rescinding resolution 2020-18 is now open. The council wishes to hear from anyone who's interested in commenting on these resolutions. Have there been any written testimony or public in attendance to comment?
I have not received any written comments or testimony, and no one's in attendance.
All right, we will leave the public hearing open for at least 1 minute. All right, the hearing is now closed. Next up, we have a public hearing on Resolution 2021-11, a resolution rescinding Resolution number 2020-19 and establishing a public safety fee and charges in accordance with the provisions of Crestville Municipal Code Chapter 13.30 is now open. The council wishes to hear from anyone wishing to comment or give testimony on this resolution. Do we have anybody in attendance, or do we have any written testimony?
I have not received any written comments or testimony, and no one's in attendance.
All right, we will keep it open for 1 minute. All right, the public hearing is now closed. We move on to item 6B, fiscal year July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022, budget resolutions, and that's our finance director, Jim Piper.
Thank you, Mayor and City Councilors. The first item is the budget adoption. Before you is Resolution 2021-03, adopting the budget by category, by fund, and also levying the property tax at $2.67.05 per thousand assessed. Are there any questions on the budget resolution?
I think we're good. All right, so seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion to approve Resolution 2021-03. Councilor Prachu.
I move to approve Resolution 2021-03, a resolution adopting budget, making appropriations, and categorizing and levying ad valorem taxes as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second, Councilor Medina seconds the motion.
All right, thank you very much. Seeing no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Councilor Clark.
Councilor Clark votes yes.
Councilor Castilla.
Councilor Castilla votes yes.
Councilor Hutchinson.
Councilor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councilor Inman.
Councilor Inman votes yes.
Councilor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councilor Prachu.
Councilor Prachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knudsen votes yes. The resolution passes unanimously. Next up, we have next resolution.
All right, thank you, Mayor Knudsen. The next two are formal. They're templates for the Department of Revenue. This is our state shared revenues. The first one is the council electing to receive those state shared revenues.
All right, do we have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion. Councilor Inman.
So I move to approve Resolution 2021-04, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Councilor Medina seconds the motion.
All right, second by Councilor Medina. there's no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Counselor Castilla.
Counselor Castilla votes yes.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Counselor Medina.
Counselor Medina votes yes.
Counselor Braccio.
Counselor Brachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Resolution passes unanimously. Next resolution.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The next resolution is a requirement that the city provide at least 4 types of services. This just declares that we have 4 or more of those services so that we can receive state shared revenues.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark moves to approve Resolution 2021-05, a resolution regarding the state revenue sharing funds as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Counselor Inman has her hands up to second.
Counselor Inman press second.
All
I
right.
thought I had my mute.
We will proceed to vote. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Counselor Castilla.
Counselor Castilla votes yes.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Counselor Medina.
Counselor Medina votes yes.
Counselor Braccio.
Counselor Brachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Resolution passes unanimously. Next one.
All right, the next resolution for you is a volunteer resolution for our workers' comp policy. So volunteers like yourselves are covered under workers' comp.
All right. Any questions or comments? All right, I'm entertaining a motion.
I put forth the motion for resolution number 2021-06, a resolution extending the city of Cresswell's workers' compensation coverage to the volunteers of the city of Cresswell.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Counselor Hutchinson seconds. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Counselor Castilla.
Counselor Castilla votes yes.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Counselor Medina.
Counselor Medina votes yes.
Counselor Braccio.
Counselor Brachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Resolution passes unanimously. Next up, we have another resolution. Last one.
All right, appreciate it. The last resolution is the pay scales as presented in the budget. It just shows each position and each step of the pay scale for each of those positions.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Jim Piper? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion.
I put forth the motion for resolution number 2021-07, a resolution adopting the pay scales for fiscal year 2021-22 for the city of Cresswell.
All right. Thank you, Counselor Medina. Is there a second?
Counselor Inman will second.
All right. Seeing no other questions or comments, we will proceed to vote. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Counselor Castilla.
Counselor Castilla votes yes.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Counselor Medina.
Counselor Medina votes yes.
Counselor Braccio.
Counselor Brachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. The resolution passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we move on to 6C, a resolution adjusting the basic rental fee set forth in existing airport leases between the City of Cresswell and individual leases of property located on Hobby Field Airport. That's Shelley Humble and Jim Piper.
All right. Do you want me to take this, Shelley?
I can take it if you would like.
It's merely formality. I'll let Shelley chime in if I get this wrong, but our airport leases are adjusted annually by the CPI, and this is just bringing forth that CPI. The CPI as of January 1 for the agreements was 1.4%. Yes, it is 1.4%, and this resolution will adjust the monthly rates by that amount.
All right, do we have any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion. Councilor Braccio.
I move to adopt resolution 2021-08, a resolution adjusting the basic rental fees set forth in the existing airport leases between the City of Crestville and individual lessees of property located on Hobby Field Airport.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilor Clark seconds. All right, we will proceed to vote. Councilor Clark.
Councilor Clark votes yes.
Councilor Castilla.
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
Councilor Hutchinson.
Councilor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Councilor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councilor Braccio.
Councilor Braccio votes yes.
Mayor Knutson votes yes. Resolution passes unanimously. On to 6D, a resolution establishing water service fees and water rates for uses of the Cresswell Municipal Water System and rescinding Resolution 2020-17. Jim Piper.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councilors. This resolution is regarding water rate fees. Annually, the Water Rate Committee meets. We met in January 2021 to deliberate the water rates. It was recommended a 2% increase be placed in order to meet the needs of the water fund, the fixed and variable costs, as well as infrastructure, future infrastructure costs. I do have an amendment to the council in section 7. The title itself states July 1, 2020. It should read July 1, 2021 in the header. Again, the next line, it says beginning July 1, 2021, the following water rate shall be paid by all users of the Cresswell Municipal Water System. It's merely a scrivener's error, but I just wanted to make sure the council was aware of that, and the council, if a motion is made, the council makes a motion as amended.
All right, do we have any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 2021-09, a resolution establishing water service fees and water rates for users of the Cresswell Municipal Water System and rescinding resolution 2020-17 as amended.
Very good. Councilor Medina has a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Braccio. All right, no other questions or comments. We will proceed to vote. Councilor Clark.
Councilor Clark votes yes.
Councilor Castillo.
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
Councilor Hutchinson.
Councilor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Councilor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councilor Braccio.
Councilor Braccio votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Resolution passes unanimously. Next up is 6E, a resolution 2021-10, a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees and charges for the users of the Cresswell Municipal Sewer Works facilities, and rescinding resolution number 2020-18. Jim Piper.
Although the city charter doesn't require the water rate committee to look at rates, the water rate committee looks at the sewer rates and deliberates the rates annually as well. After looking at those rates and the costs, projected costs, and infrastructure costs, the committee recommended a 2% increase as well for the sewer. This resolution recommends that.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments for Jim Piper? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 2021-10, a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and charges for the users of the Cresswell Municipal Sewer Works facility, and rescinding resolution number 2020-18.
All right. Councilor Medina has made a motion. Is there a second?
Counselor Inman will second.
Very good. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Councilor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Councilor Castilla.
Councilor Costilla votes yes.
Councilor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Councilor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councilor Prachu.
Councilor Prachu votes yes.
Mayor Knutson votes yes. The resolution passes unanimously. Next, we move on to 6F, Resolution 2021-11, a resolution rescinding resolution number 2020-19 and establishing a public safety fee and charges in accordance with the provisions of Crestville Municipal Code Chapter 13.30, approval of the public safety fee for fiscal year 2021-22, and authorizing the city manager to execute the service contract with Lane County Sheriff's Office. Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to defer this to Mr. Piper.
All right.
Thank you, Michelle. Mayor, city councilors, there is no increase in the contract number of deputies as was in prior years. So this really is just a reflection of the increase from the Lane County's Sheriff's Office year over year. The City Council Committee, the Public Safety Committee rather, did some surveys back in fiscal year 2019-2020, and the public was more receptive to the public safety fee than an actual tax levy. So it was recommended to come to the council with the public safety fee. This year, the public safety fee will be $15.33 to cover the 4 deputies and 1 sergeant.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the public safety fee? So I don't remember the public safety committee bringing this to us. Am I misremembering us talking about this?
Mayor, this is not something that the Public Safety Committee actually undertakes each year. This is something that we do administratively because it is a contract and we don't have a whole lot of room to negotiate. The only changes that could be made to this contract would be to reduce the number of deputies, to reduce the cost.
All right. Then I didn't misremember that. I just typically they do come to us, but not. You're right, not for just renewing the contract, and yeah, that was for something else last year. So, all right, any questions or comments? If there are none, I'm entertaining a motion. Sorry, Councilor Prachu.
Nobody wants to do it because it's such a long one, but I'll go ahead.
It's a very long one.
I move that the City Council adopt Resolution 2021-11, a resolution rescinding Resolution number 2020-19, and establishing a public safety fee and charges in accordance with the provisions of Crestville Municipal Code, CMC, Chapter 13-30, and authorize the city manager to execute the service contract with the Lane County Sheriff's Office for 1 sergeant and 4 deputies for fiscal year 21-22.
Very good. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I move to second.
Counselor Medina seconds. Seeing no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Counselor Castilla.
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Counselor Medina.
Counselor Medina votes yes.
Counselor Prachu.
Counselor Prachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Resolution passes unanimously. Next up is 6G, a resolution number 2021-12, a resolution charging off delinquent utility accounts. Jim Piper.
Thank you. This is the last of the kind of housekeeping. This here is the annual write-offs for accounts that are delinquent but are deemed uncollectible. It's something our auditors brought up in the past that annually we should charge those off.
All right. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion. Counselor Castilla.
I move the council approve resolution number 2021-12, a resolution charging off delinquent utility accounts as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Counselor Inman will second.
Very good. There's no other questions or comments. We will proceed to vote. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Counselor Castilla.
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Counselor Medina.
Counselor Medina votes yes.
Counselor Prachu.
Counselor Prachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Resolution passes unanimously. All right, on to 6H. This is another public hearing for a request to name a public facility after Tamara Blum. A request was received from Al Bennett to place a commemorative plaque on an existing bench located at 24 West Oregon Avenue in honor of Tamara Blum, DC. At the May 10th, 2021 City Council meeting, the council opened a 30-day public comment period on the approval or denial of the request. The comment period was properly noticed, encouraging interested persons to provide input to the City Council no later than June 14th, 2021. The applicant has met all criteria associated with the request. The public hearing on the request to name a public facility by placing a commemorative plaque on a bench in honor of Dr. Tamara Blum, DC, is now open. We wish to hear from everyone who is interested in commenting on the request from Al Bennett. Has there been any written comments received?
I have not received any written comments or testimony, and no one is in attendance.
All right, we will leave the public hearing open for at least 1 minute. All right, the public hearing is now closed. If you have any questions or comments, Manager Amberg is here to answer any. Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion. Councillor Brachu.
I would yield that to Councillor Clark if she would like to make the motion. Oh, okay. I saw her hand go up as well. Well, as many know, Dr. Blum was a pillar of our community, a true pillar, and an amazing person. So it pleases me to make this motion tonight. I move that the City Council approve the request to place a plaque on the bench located at 24 West Oregon Avenue in memory of Dr. Tamara Blum.
Very good. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Councilor Medina seconds.
All right. If there's Councillor Castillo, is your hand up for a question or comment?
Nope.
Okay.
It was going to second, but that's all right.
Okay. Very good. Then we will proceed to vote. Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark votes yes.
Councillor Castillo.
Counselor. Sorry, my mute button. Counselor Castillo votes yes.
All right. Councillor Hutchinson.
Councillor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councillor Inman.
Councillor Inman votes yes.
Councillor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councillor Brachu.
Councillor Prachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. So that approval passes unanimously. And I hope to see the bench in our city very soon. All right, moving on to 6I, authorization to extend the IGA between Lane County and the city of Cresswell for the purpose of providing a tobacco retail licensing program. Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. The city of Cresswell has contracted with Lane County in the past for their tobacco program. We do not have the staffing in place to actually conduct the program ourselves. We receive many benefits from contracting with Lane County. The contract will expire this year. However, there are going to be some changes to the program, so they're only asking for a one-year extension to the contract rather than a multi-year extension, so that they can rewrite the contract after the changes are made, and it will be brought back to you for approval once it's been amended. But this will be an interim contract that will keep us in the program until such that's time.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments? If not, I'm entertaining a motion. Councillor Inman.
Yes, I move that the City Council authorize the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Cresswell and Lane County for the purpose of enforcing Chapter 5.35 of the Cresswell Municipal Code, providing a tobacco retail licensing program in the City of Cresswell.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Councilor Medina seconds.
All right. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark votes yes.
Councillor Castillo.
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Councillor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councillor Inman.
Councillor Inman votes yes.
Councillor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councillor Prachu.
Councillor Prachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Passes unanimously. All right, moving on to 6J, authorization to support the League of Oregon Cities Foundation with a donation of $279.25. Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item that comes before you each year. The League of Oregon Cities asks each city to consider providing a nickel per person if in your city towards a scholarship fund that they then turn around and use to assist other folks, other elected officials to attend the annual conference. And as you can see, our contribution at 5 cents a head would be $279.25 this year if you agree to make this donation.
All right. Anybody have any questions or comments for Manager Amberg? So the League of Oregon Cities is here to help us as counselors, as mayors. They serve us. They have a lot of good resources for us. So this is a good little chip in that we can do to help get other counselors and mayors to conferences and training. So I really support this. I'm entertaining a motion. I haven't done one, so I'll do one. I move that the city council direct staff to send payment of $279.25 to the League of Oregon Cities Foundation to support scholarships. Is there a second? Second by Councillor Clark. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark votes yes.
Councillor Castilla.
Councillor Costilla votes yes.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councillor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Councillor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councillor Prachu.
Counselor Prachi votes yes.
And Mayor Knudsen votes yes. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 6K. This is to authorize the city manager to execute all documents in association with an IGA with Lane Council of Governments, Olcc, for a Cresswell Economic Development Plan. Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we have an economic development plan that is aging and we need to update it. One of the wonderful things about belonging to the COG is that we can make use of their expertise in these areas without going out and doing a long, protracted request for proposals, a request for qualifications process. So we approached them and they had the expertise in-house to help us update our economic development plan. And this IGA would allow us to move forward with that project.
All right, very good. Are there any questions or comments for Manager Amberg? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion. Councillor Clark.
I move that the city council authorize the city manager to execute the IGA with Lane Council of Governments for an economic development plan update and all associated documents.
Very good. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Counselor Inman will second.
All right. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark votes yes.
Councillor Castilla.
Councillor Costilla votes yes.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councillor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Councillor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councillor Prachu.
Counselor Prachi votes yes.
Mayor Knudsen votes yes. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 6L. This is to authorize the city manager to sign all documents associated with the FAA AIP grant associated with the funding and completion of the runway rehabilitation design. Jim Piper and Shelley Humble. All right. I see her here.
Sorry,
but-
guys.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So this AIS is what we're talking about, correct?
The acceptance of the FAA Airport Improvement Program, the AIP project.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is an AIP grant that we receive. We're eligible for 150,000 each year. And so this is for the design. This is part of our CIP. So this is for the design of our runway.
Okay.
anyone has any questions.
I don't see any. Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion. Counselor Castilla.
I move that the city council authorize city manager Michelle Amberg to complete the FAA AIP grant paperwork associated with the funding and completion of the runway rehabilitation environmental pre-design project.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second from Counselor Hutchinson. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Counselor Castilla.
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Counselor Medina.
Counselor Medina votes yes.
Counselor Prachu.
Counselor Prachi votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is 6M, a liquor license application recommendation for an OLCC temporary use of an annual liquor license for TJ's Family Restaurant. This is Roberta Tharp and Manager Amberg.
Michelle, do you want me to take that, or are you going to?
Roberta, I'll defer to you on this.
Thank you. The city received a temporary use license, liquor license application, which is basically just an extension of their annual liquor license. It's for one day only for July 4th. And their intent is to extend the restaurant by enclosing the parking lot with a temporary 4-foot fence. The enclosure will have tables and chairs for families to enjoy dining and entertainment. And the applicant has told me that he will have monitors working the area to make sure that all the alcohol is consumed within the area and it doesn't leave that space. I emailed out a diagram earlier today that was provided for your review, and Sergeant Denham has reviewed this, and his recommendation is also included in your packet. You have the option to either approve it or deny it.
Okay. So the reason it's coming to council is because they're extending it out of their restaurant, because don't they already have a liquor license at TJ's?
They do.
So it's because it's extending out into the parking lot?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Roberta, or Sergeant Denham is also here? Counselor Inman.
So I had a question regarding the diagram. When looking at the diagram and where the building and the outside space, on the far right, it has to where you can exit or leave to go to another area. Is that correct?
I believe so.
And then is that also property of TJ's? So private property of theirs?
That I can't answer.
I might be able to answer that one. It is private property. It's owned by a different person. However, they have received permission to use the property for this event.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I believe Counselor Castilla, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And my question is just to Sergeant Denham. In your memo, you mentioned that you have concern that the activities may exceed the capacity that was stated. and I was just curious as to do you have any type of game plan? I mean, or what will you guys do? If you're concerned, I'm concerned.
There's a game plan that is developing. We can't really make a super big game plan until we kind of have a better idea of exactly size and scope and things like that, other than what we see posted on social media. So at this point, we've got flyers that are out there that are being shared through social media, an event page that looks to be having about 40. But that conversation that we've had with the event planner, the owner, was he believes he can't fit more than 150 to 200 people in that space. So that's how he's going to control it. Whether or not they have people there that are counting or whatever. But obviously, anything that happens could grow larger than the capacity for it to be there. So that's what we'll be watching. And we've talked as an administration. The captain, lieutenant, and I had a conversation today about what we know so far as the event. He's put on multiple events in other places. The property owner who's requesting it, the liquor license, owns several restaurants throughout the county, and does a catering events and things like that. So he's well versed at being able to put on events. All we can do is speculate as versus what we've seen the call for on public on social media versus what we're being told is going to be the actual constrictions of the event. So there's a contingency out there. That was the concern that we had, was that event flyers and things that are circulating out there in social media calling for a much larger group of people to respond to Cresswell. We don't know that that's going to come to fruition, or if it's going to be the event planners that are out there that we can see on social media. There's 2 to 3 specifically that have been vocal in trying to coordinate things, and then they're working in conjunction with the property owner. So hopefully that answered your question. But.
Sure, I think so, Sergeant. But I mean, it's not your duty or responsibility to say, oh, I got to go peek in there and see how many people they have, right?
No.
Okay.
No, that won't. I mean, obviously, if it grows beyond capacity, it's going to be pretty obvious. You drive over the bridge, you're going to be able to tell. So I don't believe that that's going to happen. I believe that they're going to have to, because they don't want Olcc rolling in there, and
sure.
That's kind of the benefit of having him put in for a temporary single use type license, because then it can be controlled and there's some parameters. They've provided insurance information. They've provided their diagram. They've done everything we've asked them to do to be legitimate. And it's basically in comparison to other events that we've approved on the 4th of July with the car shows and other things like that are serving alcohol at them. So we went back and compared this application with those applications, and they're pretty well closely identical.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant.
Yep.
All right, Councilor Pache, I believe you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. Not that this would affect the outcome of the application, but I am curious, maybe Sergeant Denham knows, with all of that parking space being used, where are people parking? And are there any concerns about traffic or congestion or flow in the city?
There's been a couple of different avenues. One person has told me that the owner of the Super 8 properties back there with the big gravel lot and everything has not granted them permission to be on it and was going to barricade it. And then they seem to have conveyed to Roberta that they do have permission to have parking back over there. So we'll get with that property owner and find out what the actual answer is. That would alleviate any parking issues, is that they are parking back over there. If not, then we'll just have to wait and see where they park. I mean, some people may go park over at the hotel and walk over the bridge, or filter into the AM, PM, and those places around there. Whether or not those property owners, they haven't weighed in on any concerns or anything like that, so we'll just have to cross that bridge when we get to it. But I don't consider that there'll probably be congestion, because once you're in that area, that's all private property. But we're not going to have people parking out on the street or over the bridge or anything like that. So that we'll take care of that issue if it comes. It's a pretty long event. It's touted from 2 p.m. or 12 p.m. to 10 at night. And so I don't believe that the majority of people that will attend it will be there the entire time. Because that's, then we're dealing with DUIs, and we will have some extra traffic enforcement out throughout the southern part of Lane County. So if there's a lot of traffic that we see with anything being concerning, then we can pull those guys up and get some dedicated traffic assistance from those deputies that are out working traffic grant and DUI grant.
Oh, thank you, Sergeant.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? I just had one question. It has nothing to do with the liquor license, but the map that was provided to us, it says field for fireworks and picnic space. And I'm guessing that's the field between TJ's and I-5. But I'm worried about fireworks being let off in a very, very dry field. And the potential hazard.
That's meaning fireworks viewing.
Okay.
Because the fireworks are going to be set off from Bald Knob, which is right there on the other side. So I've already had that conversation with Mr. Jensen and advised him that if we start seeing aerial stuff going off, then that's a good invitation for us to come down. And it's a lot easier for us to see stuff going off in an open parking lot and pinpointing who that person is, and we'll be easily able to hand out fines there. And by default, the property owner is responsible if aerial fireworks and things like that start going off on their property without a permit. So I believe that he will use his alcohol monitors to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, even just ground fireworks in a dry field just doesn't really sound like a good idea.
I don't believe that will be happening. That's okay. Strictly a picnic space and put out chairs and things like that to be able to sit and watch the fireworks without anything in the way. Because in their parking lot, they'll have a stage, which will probably block a little bit of that. I don't know how big the stage will be, but.
Okay. Councillor Inman.
Yes, thank you. So regarding that side property, is that accessible to anyone that wants to view, or only TJ attendees?
That would probably be up to, well, I don't believe that he has any hold over who can be on it. I don't think, the way that they're presenting this as a family-friendly event and come one, come all, and have some food, have a drink. They're going to have food carts and craft vendors and a play area and all of that. So I would believe that anybody that wants to come and check stuff out, you don't necessarily have to go into the alcohol beverage area or the restaurant area, and people can still go and attend the other things that are there. So I think it's open. That area is it's pretty big. So if you have more than 150, 200 people there by the time the fireworks start, then that's a good space for them. There'll be other areas I know that the chamber is opening up for people to be able to view the fireworks closer in at Bald Knob and places like that down South Mill Street. So there'll be ample areas, but I don't think they're going to control how many people are coming out to see the fireworks.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions or comments regarding the liquor license application that's before us? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion.
I put forward to approve the license for TJ's Family Restaurants for their liquor or temporary liquor annual liquor license extension. Did I mess that one all up?
I believe it's Nelson Restaurant Corporation. I believe that's what Counselor Medina, did you want to reread that motion, or do you want to?
Go ahead. I don't have it directly in front of me. I was trying to go off this one here.
Oh, okay. Counselor Prachu.
Okay. I move that the city council approve the temporary liquor license application for Nelson Restaurant Corporation as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Councilor Medina, second.
Second, or go ahead.
All right, Counselor Medina seconds. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll proceed to vote. Counselor Clark.
Counselor Clark votes yes.
Counselor Castilla.
Counselor Castilla votes yes.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Counselor Hutchinson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Counselor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Counselor Prachu.
Counselor Prachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes yes. Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have 6N, Sanapac rate increase. This also calls for a public hearing. Sanapac is proposing a 2.3% rate increase for waste collection and disposal services effective July 1st, 2021. The City Council will hold a public hearing to receive public comment regarding the proposed Sanapac rate increase. Sanapac did not ask for a price increase last year. Since the last increase, fuel and wages have increased, and the landfill tipping fee is set to increase by 2.1% effective July 1st, 2021. The effect of the proposed increase on the most common residential service, a 35-gallon trash can, serviced weekly, is 50 cents per month. Following the public hearing, the City Council will be taking action on whether or not to approve the proposed rate increase. The public hearing on the proposed Sanapac rate increase is now open. We wish to hear from everyone who's interested in commenting on the proposed rate increase. Have there been any written comments submitted, or is anybody in attendance?
I have not received any written comments or testimony, and no one is in attendance.
All right. We will keep the hearing open for 1 minute. All right, there being no testimony, the public hearing is now closed. So the resolution 2021-13, a resolution adopting a new rate structure for solid waste disposal services proposed by Sanapac for the City of Cresswell and rescinding resolution 2019-20. Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. You pretty much covered the essence of what this is all about. Sanapac is proposing a 2.3% rate increase. Last year, they forewent a rate increase, so their rate increase last year would have been 0. You see the history of the rate increases. This is very much within the limits of what they have done in the past. They presented to the Administrative and Finance Committee, and the committee asked them many questions about the rate, and Councilor Castilla in particular was very interested if they could cut any of the percentage off of the increase, and it was not possible. Most of the rate increase is due to the increase of the tipping fee at the landfill, as well as increases in gasoline and driver's wages and fuel and operating costs. So they are requesting approximately a 50-cent per month increase in the rate.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments for Manager Amberg? Counselor Castilla, being chair of the Administration and Finance Committee, or any other chair members, do you have anything to say about the meetings with Sanapac regarding this rate increase?
No, I would just say that I really believe the Sanapac was being tried to be as fair as they possibly could, and I do really appreciate that they forewent the fee last year due to COVID. Unfortunately, that things go up, and we all have to pay. But I believe Aaron and Sanapac are doing right by Cresswall.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding this? So my stance has always been Sanapac can ask and we can deny. And if it's not written in their contract, which it isn't, then I will always deny this. So if no other questions or comments, I am entertaining a motion. If no one wants to make a motion, this will die and we will, oh, Councillor Hutchinson.
I move that the City Council approve Resolution 2021-13, authorizing Sanapac to increase rates by 2.3% as listed in the 2021 proposed rate schedule.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councillor Clark seconds. If there's no other questions or comments, we will proceed to vote. Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark votes yes.
Councillor Castilla.
Councillor Castillo votes yes.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Councillor Hutchinson votes yes.
Councillor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Councillor Medina.
Councilor Medina votes yes.
Councillor Prachu.
Councillor Prachu votes yes.
And Mayor Knutson votes no. Motion passes 6-1. All right, that is the end of our council action items. Next up is upcoming meetings and events. June 15th, the Park and Tree Advisory Board is meeting at 10 a.m. at the Community Center. June 17th, there's a virtual Planning Commission meeting at 5:30. June 28th is our virtual City Council work session at 6 p.m. And I'll see you all back then. And that's the end of our meeting, 7:23 p.m. adjourned. Thank you guys.
Night, everybody.
Night.